If this goes on, don't panic. Bringing hope to the world through speculative fiction.
Of If This Goes On, Don't Panic, Quarantine Club. Today we have Derek Zanzetti, also known as Homeless Gospel Choir, a Pittsburgh punk folk musician who's putting out his 5th album called This Land Is Your Landfill. If you were here a few minutes early, you heard one of his new songs called Art Punk. Pretty awesome, in my opinion. We are also going to have some giveaways from Dreamforge Magazine, Meerkat Press, and Flame Tree Publishing today. But first, we have Katje Van Loon, author of Stranger Skies and Bellica, among many other novels. Welcome, Katje.
Thank you. Just one other published novel, actually, but I am working on novel number, I don't remember, something, four maybe? I'm not sure. I lost track of time.
well, one novel is meant to be.
Quarantine, all the days have put together. Yeah, I hear ya.
But of course, Diane is also here, and Rachel is here as well, as always.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
So I want to make a couple of notes real quick before we get started here. A couple episodes ago, I mentioned something about Strange Worlds. Today, I want to mention a podcast called Imaginary Worlds. They had an interview with friends of ours, Dreamforge Magazine, and Serena Ulibarri about solar punk. Everybody go check out their latest episode. I've been listening to Imaginary Worlds for years. I don't know, 3 or 4 years, and when they told me that they got on, I was just totally stoked for them. So that's totally awesome, and everyone go check that out immediately. Okay, so I'm done with notes. Guys, everybody, what's going on?
Let's see. Not much has changed in my life since last week. Things are still coasting along pretty well. I'm beginning to have conversations with my cat, though. I'm not sure I should be concerned about this. My cat literally said to me yesterday, come outside with me.
That's not good. That's not good. You just had the usual ups and downs of being quarantined with your family for going on 5 weeks, I think. So, yeah. Nothing new here, though.
Alone in, sensory deprivation now to get away from the kids.
Yeah, exactly. I wish. It's called video. I've gotten back into video gaming, so Rachel will be proud of me.
What?
Yes, I've been playing No Man's Sky in the evenings for half an hour or so.
Can I give you a hand clap? That's a great one. Good job.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. And the funny thing is, it's in a lot of ways like Minecraft, and I tell my kid during the day, I'm so sick of playing Minecraft, and then I go and play that at night. I feel like a traitor.
Nice.
I don't know, I think the graphics are a little nicer in No Man's Sky.
You're also a fan of No Man's Sky?
Yeah, well, I played it before they did the third-person patch, and I played it for about, I think, 2 hours, and I was really careful, but I still needed a bucket afterwards because I get motion sickness from first-person stuff.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, now that they've come out with a third-person patch, I've been meaning to play it, but, all my gaming supplies, along with my husband, are down in the Lower Mainland, and I'm up in Pearl River right now, so, no gaming for me right now. Not at all.
I'm so
I
sorry.
am jonesing something fierce. Anyway.
So are you... Go ahead, Diane.
No, I was just saying, I'm sure Rachel understands.
Oh, yes, I do. I'm so excited about gaming. So we've actually got this, it's called #Days Gone Week going on this week with Viking Dad, who was actually part of my Blue Funk podcast. But that's been really cool. That just started this week. We got the the first episode up for bonus episode of Blue Funk up regarding that. So super excited. If you know what Days Gone is, it's pretty much a zombie horde type video game. It's pretty cool. So
that sounds like fun.
Yeah. When I say horde, I'm talking like hundreds and hundreds of what they call freakers chasing after you at one time. So
nice.
Katja, what video games do you like to play?
Lately, the main one that before I came up here, the one that I was playing the most was World of Warcraft, just because I didn't have a lot of time with my work schedule and everything else. But I also really enjoy Stardew Valley. And now that I'm starting to actually garden in my mom's house, I'm realizing that, it really did lie about how easy it was to start a profitable farm, because gardening is really hard work. And, I have like a huge Steam library, to be honest, but I don't play a variety of games a lot. I usually focus on one game and then until I get sick of it, and then I move on to another one. So other ones I've focused on until I get sick of are Civilization, and Plague Inc. Evolved. I love Plague Inc. Evolved, so it's been interesting being a fan of that game during current times. Going, look, Greenland shut down their borders just like they do in the game. Good job, Greenland. They're like at 11 people, all recovered. I'm like, wow, it is just like a video game.
Real life shit starts happening, and you're like, oh, I read that book. I saw that. I played that game. I saw that movie.
Yep. This is reality? Oh no. No, I didn't sign up for this.
Seriously. We were talking about science fiction and fantasy and prediction last week, and was it last week? It's starting to blur together.
The week before. It was actually the week before. We were on with Mab Morris.
That's right.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us about one of your series that you've got going on here? I saw that you started 2 series, right?
Yes, I did. Because I get attracted by shiny plot bunnies and chase them down trails instead of finishing the series that I'm on. But I have 2 going on right now. The Bellica trilogy was originally just called The Third Age, because I was like, it's not going to be an actual series. It just books sit in this time period in this world. And I realized that was kind of silly. So because I've got the first 3 books do kind of work as not a traditional trilogy, but sort of. So I've got that one. I've got the first 2 books out in that. That's Bellica and the Jade Star of Athering. And the 3rd book is going to be another behemoth like Bellica, so it's going to take me a while. But Bellica took me 13 years. I'm hoping that Anala does not take me quite so long.
Holy cow.
Wow.
I think the first one's always harder. I really do.
Yeah. Well, and I started writing it when I was 12, so a lot of writing level ups had to happen, a lot of rewrites, because let's face it, my writing when I was 12 was horrifically awful.
I feel your pain. I am currently doing this for the same why. Yep.
I think at that age was when I wrote a short story that basically totally plagiarized the plot of the movie Dante's Peak, and also threw in E.T. for good measure. Yeah, I'm so proud of that story.
Remember, and you'll be fine.
You gotta start somewhere,
start somewhere, right? You gotta flex those literary muscles.
Yeah, exactly. Back when I started writing songs and poetry and that sort of thing, I just copied like Metallica and Nirvana songs because I didn't know any better.
Yep. No, and that's, they do say that imitation is where you need to start, and I think that's what they do in art too. You have to imitate the great masters so that you can get to the point where you do your own thing. And so that's just the way it is. But eventually I got Bellica finished, and then at some point I came up with the idea for Stranger Skies, and it was originally going to be a standalone. And then I got like 75% of the way through the story and went, oh, you're a series. Damn it.
I understand.
I just wanted to write a standalone and like publish it and then move back to my series. But no, okay, now I've got 2 series. Great. All right. Good. So that one is about a goddess who falls to a planet where her followers have lost faith in her, and she becomes mortal. And she has to decide if she wants to get her godhood back, or if she wants to accept this mortal life and the mortal love that comes with it. Often the tagline I use for that is lesbian werewolves in space.
Awesome.
All right.
I mean, already, right? Absolutely.
Because she is the goddess of wolves, and she gets trapped in a human form, which is very uncomfortable for her. And she falls in love with a human woman. So there's like all this. Ugh. Anyway, I've written the second book for it, but the second book is in need of dire rewrites. So it has been like written. The first draft has been written for like a year, and I'm working on the third book this month. And while I'm working on the third book, I'm also trying to rewrite the second book to sort of get everything more shipshape. But in the third book, we move away from this planet that she's landed on, and we get to meet some other gods, including Loki in a dress, and Hecate, and Mercury, who is not Hermes, but, you know, Freddy. So, yeah. So, you know, it's going to be fun. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and, you know, writing and lighting candles to the gods, going, Kate, please don't take any of this personally. Just fictional characters right now. Love you, Zeus. So didn't mean to call you a horny old bull.
And if it says anything about the state of publishing right now, I know one other person who also has a werewolf in space novel, Brandon Getz, I believe. He's a Pittsburgh guy.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah. Although it sounds completely different from yours.
Well, I mean, you know, werewolf in space is such a broad thing. Like, it immediately goes like, oh, yes, that's a thing I want to read. But it's also so broad, you could do so much with it. So, absolutely. And that's kind of why I started using that as the tagline. And as far as Bellica and the J.C.R. Vathrin goes, that's basically epic fantasy in a matriarchal society. So I can't really narrow it down any more than that. It's epic. So
right. Well, what's the? Here we go. We'll get super geeky here. What's the magic system like?
Okay, so the magic system is not much. There's a lot of old technology that they think of as magic, and whether or not it is or not is, I leave that up to people to decide. I know, but I'm not revealing. And then there's also the Magi, and they're the original inhabitants of this planet that Terrans came to land on. And then you have people who are Magi Terrans, who are, well, crossbreed of Magi and Terran, and they have powers. Those powers can be deadly to them, but they have powers. So, it's I haven't really gotten into a lot of the magic that'll appear elsewhere because it depends on which society is on this planet. This planet was colonized by humans ages ago, and it's actually part of an overarching universe I call the Aradian universe because there's this sort of mythical martyr-style figure in the past of this universe who went by the name Aradia. And whether she was one person or many people using that name, nobody knows, but she was the one that saved humanity from, you know, the hell that they'd wreaked for themselves on Earth and brought them to the stars. So.
Fun fact here, Alan, if you're wanting the connection, right? Aradia, or Aradia, or Aradia, or different ways that I've heard it pronounced, depending on where you are, right, is a figure who appears in a classic book called Aradia, well, I say Aradia, right, Gospel of the Witches, which is one of the formative books that led to the creation of modern witchcraft, right, and she is the daughter of Diana, goddess of the moon, right, and Lucifer, who's presented as a sun god kind of figure in this book, right, and was sent to the earth to teach witchcraft to the masses and liberate the oppressed, right? So think about that when you think about my online handle. That was part of the why.
And that is the Aradia Gospel, which is, I read that a lot when I was a teenager. I read it multiple times, and that's where that whole idea came from, was that there, you know, in the future for us, but in the past for this world that I'm creating, there was a liberator type figure named Aradia. So, yeah, that's...
Which is awesome. Which is absolutely awesome, I think.
Yeah.
So, yes. Look, I've started reading Bellica, and it's so fun, right? Oh. Finally, I got to it on my TBR, right? And, oh my God, it's so great, because Katja doesn't pussyfoot around with shit. She doesn't pay a lot of attention to tropes of gender, right? She, her characters are, if they're warriors, they're warriors, like they do their thing, and there's not a lot of over, like, I guess because it's a matriarchy, right? You don't get a lot of the stuff that people insist on using as qualifiers in other books, and which I have a soapbox I could get on about that, but I'm not going to. And she's awesome, and it's fun. It's so cool. Like you really instantly care about the characters. You want to know what's happening. You want to understand this world better. Her world building is amazing. She does it like she knows her readers are smart. She doesn't over-explain things. She expects you to just kind of go, okay, yeah, and adapt, and it's great. I love it.
Well,
That's a huge I'm blushing over here. I'm glad we're not on video.
I was interested when she said, I definitely like all that stuff, and she had me hooked at when she said ancient technology or magic. Not sure. I just, for some reason, that, I don't know if you want to call it a trope, but whatever that is, I freaking love that.
Oh, it's one of my favorites too. That's probably why I like Far Off in the Future post-apocalyptic stuff so often, because like I love Van stuff, the Weird West, because it is set in the future of our Earth, and there's all these little hints and stuff to things that happened in the past, and just like, oh yes, history and stuff, but they don't really know what's going on. I love it. It's one of my favorite tropes too. So
now it's my turn to blush. Thank you. It's cool.
Well, of course I love your stuff. I mean,
You did a blurb for me, actually. It was very cool. And I put it on the cover of my book, so that was really nice of her.
Oh, that's nice. Blurb buddies.
Blurb buddies, that's right.
Buddies.
If that's a thing, I don't know.
I apologize for all the really loud trucks going by.
What? Oh, no worries. I didn't even notice, to be honest with you.
Okay, because I can hear them, but it's amazing how loud a small town can be.
So, tell us about how you've been coping with quarantine. Has it changed anything for you?
Yeah. So I came up to Paul River in January because I got a job at the hospital up here. And I wanted to be close to my mom because, well, she's in her 70s and her health had been doing weird things. And I was like, well, okay, we're going to look at this as a temporary work situation. We don't know what the future holds, but for now, I'm going up there to stay with my mom and work, and I'll come down and visit my husband once a month. So the last time I saw him was the beginning of February because I went down for an MRI I had in Vancouver and got to see him for a little bit. And then I've been stuck up here because of, well, COVID and no non-essential travel. And guess what? It's not essential to go visit your husband once a month. So yeah, that's been wreaking a bit of havoc on my marriage. But we've found a workaround, which is weekly date nights on Friday, Saturday, Sunday on Discord. So we sit and we share a screen and we watch Bosch together or whatever other TV show we're working on. But that's been the main thing. Is it's been really hard on the sudden mandated separation of, oh, I can't just go, hey, I'm going to go down and see him this weekend. That's not an option anymore. So that's been difficult. It's also been really scary because my mom, so funny story. I get the job in January, right? And my mom's health has been doing weird things. She's been having hypertension issues. And so I call her the night that I get the job and I go, Mom, I got the job. I'll be up in 2 weeks. Just stay healthy for 2 weeks, okay? And she goes, okay. The next morning, I get a phone call from her. I broke my ankle. You what, lady? You what? So I had to come up a full week early. And I ended up losing 3 weeks of work because of it, because I couldn't start my new job and I lost my last week of work at my old job. And I had to take care of Mom after her surgery. And she had 2 post-op complications, an infection and a blood clot. So before this whole pandemic and quarantine thing set in, I was already just, getting multiple gray hairs and losing my mind over my mom being sick and me being terrified for her. And then the pandemic happens and I'm like, oh, great. She's immunocompromised right now because she's on antibiotics for, a month and a half to get rid of this infection. And there's now this. Perfect, wonderful, lovely, great. This is good. Yes, thank you, universe. Is just what I wanted. So it's been a little hard, but she is doing better. Her infection is gone. She's walking now, and overdoing it because that's what we do in this family. We immediately overdo it. I come by it honestly, and yeah, but things are improving, and I'm working in the garden right now to try and plant plants, herbs and veggies mostly at this point. We don't really sunflowers because sunflowers are good for the soil and they produce seeds and stuff. But mostly herbs and veggies, and cuddling the dog a lot because it's probably going to be his last year. So he's 11. Yeah, he's 11. He's a big dog, so we know it's probably going to be his last year. So we're just giving him as much love as possible.
That's hard, yeah. And okay, and what's worse here, I happen to know, right, because Katja and I talk on Discord, right? We're both at the Our Own World website, so we talk on the Discord there a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And, so her job's at the hospital, right? And then she got this lung infection, which she described, and I remember distinctly, as feeling like somebody had doused her lungs in icy hot, right? Yep. Which I'm like, ooh, right? And she says, and I've had a lot of lung infections and things, and I'm like, yeah, can relate. Also have had lots of lung infections, have asthma. Never had that experience. Shit, right? So she gets the test for COVID, right, because she's working in the hospital and tested negative for it. But I'm not entirely convinced that she didn't have it. I mean, at that time, they were still using all those tests that had a 30% inaccuracy, right? So who the hell knows? And her mom's got this infection and is immunocompromised. Like, we're all going, shit, keep us informed, But she got her, and her mom's doing better, and I'm really glad to hear all of this because I still wasn't entirely sure.
Yeah, sorry, I haven't been very good on typing.
Oh, I don't blame you. So much on your plate. I totally don't blame you at all.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we came to the conclusion that it was just really bad allergies because apparently up in Powell River, there's like a whole bunch of alder tree here, and we don't have that down in the Lower Mainland. And like my car is yellow right now with pollen. It's disgusting. Oh my God. I'm a nature-loving pagan, but trees, could you stop trying to murder me? So
I'm allergic poplars like that, so I totally feel your pain.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I keep getting allergies too and going, oh God, it's COVID. Oh God. And then I'm fine the next day.
Yeah. Every person with hay fever in the world. I don't know, is it allergies or is it COVID?
It's like when you get a headache and you're like, is this caffeine withdrawal or a brain tumor?
It is equivalent to that. It is, yes. Yeah. Is this a minor annoyance or am I going to die?
Yeah. So, I mean, I will say kind of on the plus side, our town doesn't have any confirmed cases. And so my hours at the hospital have actually slowed down to so little that I'm eligible for CERB. So, which is the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit thing. I forget that people don't know what I mean when I say CERB. But yeah, so on the plus side, it means that I'm not at the hospital every day working. So I'm less susceptible right now, which is good, which is nice. I'm sure that will change in the future, but because I'm a casual, that's how you start at the hospital. Is as a casual worker, and I'm the lowest in seniority, and shifts go out based on seniority. And other casuals no longer have their secondary jobs in town because everything's closed. So now they're taking shifts that they weren't taking before. And so I'm not getting any shifts because there are so few shifts, and we're so slowed down at the hospital because they've caught up on all of their record-keeping work that they were behind in because of the pandemic. I mean, great. And so it's the irony of it is that, yes, there's a pandemic and I work in an evergreen industry, healthcare, but I'm not having any shit because of the pandemic. Okay.
Yeah. There's definitely some irony there, right?
Correct.
But you gotta take those bonuses, those pluses where you can get them, though, which I think it sounds like you're doing. And I gotta ask you, one last question before we have to go. Along these same lines, what is giving you hope right now?
Oh, hope is hard sometimes because I already struggle with depression and anxiety. So whenever I see something about people being awful, it sort of confirms my worst fears. But I've also seen a lot of people not being awful during this, doing their best. And, part of what gives me hope, I will say, is the nightly 7 p.m. cheering that happens for healthcare workers. Even though I don't have many hours right now, when I do that, it makes me tear up because I feel like healthcare workers are really unsung a lot. And speaking of my experience of being a medical office assistant, we get a lot of abuse. And so it's really nice to hear the cheering at 7 because it helps me realize that people do realize what nurses and doctors and to a lesser extent people like me, the front desk staff, are doing and what we're putting on the line and what, the risks we're taking to keep everybody safe. And so that gives me hope that people that started and became such a huge thing in such a short period of time, because I know the lady who started it in Vancouver with it, like nobody was in on it for the first few days. And then Premier John Horgan mentioned it in his address to BC, and suddenly it's province-wide. And so that really gave me hope, is the 7 p.m. cheering is really makes me proud to work in healthcare. And it helps me feel some hope for our future as a species.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you for telling us about that, actually. I wondered, right? I've seen this, right, going around, and I thought, okay, yeah, that's a nice gesture, but, the people who are doing the work, the people who are on the front lines, is this going to feel like tokenism to them, right? Is this going to feel like an empty gesture? Should we, maybe we should get them better masks, right? But it's cool. I'm glad that it means something. And now that I know that, I will enthusiastically participate.
Yeah.
That's
great.
No,
I know my old coworkers from my old job, they've been posting videos of the sound of Vancouver and going, I'm not crying, you're crying. And, we're feeling it. Like it does, especially definitely for medical office assistants, because like I said, we do get a lot of abuse. I know nurses do as well. So it's, for those of us who have had to deal with a lot of the worst kind of behavior from the public, to hear the appreciation, it does mean a lot, I think. So, not that I speak for all healthcare workers, but
I totally love you guys, right? Like, you get all the disadvantages of customer service and retail, along with all the fact that people are, they're scared, they're worried about their loved ones, or they're sick and they're scared, right? And people act crazy under those circumstances. It's really a lot of pressure. It's like, customer service times 10. And I've even, and I get that from the other end, right? Because, of course, when my husband was in the hospital for like 9 months after his major car accident, right, I probably was one of these people, biting down on the screaming I wanted to do, right? Talking to someone in your position, right? So thank you for putting up with us,
Of course. And I will say it does make it easier knowing that people are really struggling with health things. It makes it easier for me to speak from a place of compassion and to be there for them and to try to go the extra mile for them. Because I know that they're scared and they're sick, or their family member is sick, and so it does make it a little easier. But yeah, it can be hard. It can be. So I appreciate your appreciation. Thank you.
Okay, Katja, it's about time for us to shift over to our next guest, but you're welcome to stick around if you want. That's the way we've been doing. Or if you're busy, you're welcome to leave as well. So we are going to play a song right now by Homeless Gospel Choir, and when we come back, we will have Mr. Derek Zanzetti with us.
You'll never get it right if you give up now. You eat it all up just to shit it all out.
Hello.
Hi.
Katja, Diane, and Rachel, we're all on together.
Woo!
Yes.
Yep.
Hello.
Yay.
Is this working? Is this working well? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, are we
Oh, I
live?
hear you.
You can hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, are we
let me
live?
see.
Yes, we're still live. We're going.
Yep.
Okay, right on. Sorry about that, y'all. Thanks for your patience. My phone has been just has been very stubborn lately. So thank you for your gracious patience.
Well, thank you for coming on and, putting up with the technical difficulties. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a digital girl in a digital world. What can I say?
So, Derek, let me introduce you to everybody and remind you who I am. You may or may not remember me. You and I played gigs together, years ago, in a band called, I was in a band called Father Flamethrower, and you were just starting out with your Homeless Gospel Choir stuff.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay, so I was the bass guy in that band.
Your brother's Chris.
Yes, Chris, is my dear friend, absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yes, and so Chris does music for our normal podcast.
Okay, right on.
Yeah. So the intro to this whole thing was done between Chris and I, and he's done all the little weird music in it as well. And we also have Diane here, who's my regular co-host.
Hello.
Hello, Diane. Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Diane's a writer and also a musician, and she does the outro music for the podcast. The new outro music.
The new outro music. Sounded good, by the way.
Yes. And then we also have Rachel, who's a co-host, and also our audio guru.
Howdy.
Hello there. Hello. Greetings.
Greetings.
And we also have a previous guest on here with us, Katja. She's also a writer.
Hello.
Hello there.
So, Derek, let me just say, I thought of you immediately when we started this podcast. This podcast is about something that we're calling Hope Punk. It's kind of a movement within science fiction and fantasy to write, to create a better world through narratives. Okay? Part of that is the punk part, which is resistance, right? We don't want like a cheesy... I shouldn't say we don't want... We don't believe that there's going to be some kind of cheesy, hope-filled world without some sort of resistance, right?
Sure.
So in our first podcast that we ever did, we interviewed a woman named Alexandra Rowland, who's also a writer, and she's the one who coined this term. And the first musician that she brought up was Frank Turner.
Oh, cool.
Who I know you know, and he was on one of your records, I believe, correct?
Yeah, he sang on the last one we did.
That's what I thought. Okay. And then I said, well, I'm pretty sure a guy I know toured with Frank a bit. His performance name is Homeless Gospel Choir. And from that moment on, I was like, I got to get Derek on here at some point to talk about what he's doing.
Well, I'm pleased as punch to be here with you.
So, just a little background for everybody out there. Derek, you are Homeless Gospel Choir. There are other members that come in and out, but really you are the band, so to speak, correct?
Well, all the members that we have are members now. This record that comes out on Friday is our first ever full band record where we made a record as a band, and with the idea and the thought of performing the songs live as a full band. So the Homeless Gospel Multiplier is now a band of 5 people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, one thing I wanted to ask you about, actually, you started as more of like I guess a protest singer, acoustic type act, right? And since then, you've been. I mean, that was what your first maybe like three records, I think.
On the first demos, for sure, yeah, they were all acoustic, yeah.
And then you've kind of, as you've gone on, you've kind of added more and more instrumentation. And I know on Normal it was a lot more filled out, and then on this record it sounds like you filled out even more.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts behind that progression? Like, why did you start where you started, and why have you progressed this way?
Well, I think whenever I first started, I wanted to just get out. I just wanted to get out and just get away and just maybe flee in some ways. And I think in making these songs and traveling about, I was able to escape. Perhaps, and I wasn't necessarily proud of my hometown where I grew up, and I didn't necessarily. I didn't necessarily have like a core group of friends that like it wasn't like Stand By Me, it wasn't like the movies, how I thought it, in your mind as a kid, whenever you're young and you're punk, you think everybody's gonna believe in Peter Pan forever, and then people decide to, have mortgages and go to college for 15 years and, grow up and be adults, and it left me in a place where I felt kind of lonesome. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just pick up this guitar and travel around and sing songs about the feelings that I have, and maybe people will listen, and maybe people like them. And the more I did it, the more I found out that people liked the songs and wanted to hear more of it. And I never set out to make it as a career or a job or any of that kind of stuff. I just didn't know what else I wanted to do. And I wasn't satisfied with just hanging around, the little town that I grew up in. So I just wanted to go ahead out there and make it on my own. So I did that for a while, and I think given the type of music that I was making and the type of songs that I wanted to write, I think that fashion of music lended itself to acoustic punk, or some people would call it folk punk, which I don't necessarily like that genre very much. So I don't like to call it folk punk, but I think acoustic punk or whatever. And I as I continued to do it, I continued to set up different goals for myself, and what would I like to do this year with this music, and some of those goals involved playing in front of more people, and some of those goals involved like going on tour with Frank Turner and Anti-Flag and all these other bands that I like and admire and would love to go out and be buds with and play shows with. And I've had wonderful opportunities to achieve my goals by myself. And I thought, what now that there's people who are listening, and now that there are people who are watching, what would it look like if I was able to do something bigger, or do something that's more that I get to experience and share these feelings and these memories with other people, and bring more people into the party. So that was kind of the thinking of it, and making it a full band. And everybody who I asked to be in the band were the people that I wanted to be in it. I had these sounds in my mind that I didn't know how to achieve on my own. Mm-hmm. And I thought, who do I know that could help me make these songs the way that I hear them in my mind, but I can't figure it out on my own? And the first person that I thought of is my dear friend Matt Miller, who plays in Endless Mike and the Beagle Club, and plays in Small Pollen, and Belly Boys, and just writes amazing songs. And whenever I was in Europe, I was on tour in Europe with Frank Turner, and I just sent him a call, and I was like, "Hey, man, I think I want to make this thing a full band thing. When I get home, do you want to go for it and make a record?" And he was like, "Hell yeah!" So that was kind of it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I feel like I know Matt Miller. I'm gonna have to look him up after this.
Oh yeah, you know Endless Mike and the Beagle Club, don't you?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Your brother knows about that band.
Okay, I'll ask him. You mentioned a couple things I think that everybody on this call can relate with. One, not being a fan of genre terms, because this is something that I know a lot of writers really fight against too. And in the sci-fi and fantasy world, people are always going, well, is this fantasy, or is this science fiction, or is this blah, blah, blah? Is this that thing or this other thing? And honestly, like, number one, if you're not marketing it, who cares? And that shit all goes together anyway. So doesn't
sure.
you're gonna have one song.
On my soapbox about this, I agree completely. Obviously, as Alan well knows.
Yes, absolutely. We've talked about this many times in other podcasts and just off the record. And I think another thing that you really mentioned I thought was interesting too is wanting to make your musical project a community. And for us, that's one thing that we want to do too, is to kind of create a feeling of community and, hey, like, everybody, we're into this really shitty thing together. Let's try and make it better by helping each other out, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Which I just think is great. It's great.
I have a question I'd like to ask.
Yes,
right?
I'll try my best. Be gentle.
No, it's cool. I think Homeless Gospel Choir is such a cool name. Where did you come up with that? Why did you choose that name? What inspired that?
We took a bunch of clippings from a magazine, and we put them in 4 different bags. All the words that we put in bag 1 could have been the first word of a 4-word sentence. All the words that were in bag number 2 could have been the second word in a 4-word sentence. And so on for the 3rd bag, and so on for the 4th bag. And that's what came out of it.
That is awesome. Neat story. I'm glad I asked the question. That's
Here
cool.
we are. Here we are, years later. With the same silly name.
That's a William Burroughs cut-up method right there.
See? It's all, everybody's just stealing somebody else's idea and trying to polish up a turd and put their name on it, you know?
That's writing in a nutshell, man.
That's right. Absolutely.
Andy Warhol will tell you all about that.
Yeah, he would, yeah. No, that's really cool. I really liked the name. I thought that has got to be the most hope punk name that I can possibly think of, right? Wow. That kind of encapsulates what the whole idea is about, right? And Alan was, I don't think he entirely was accurate in his description when he said it's a movement within science fiction fantasy. Yeah, it is, right? But it's also a political movement, right? And there's a lot of political stuff in that name that I think is very cool.
Cool. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, totally agree. One thing that always drew me to you, Derek, or your sound and what you were doing was your sincerity. And I've always felt like, and you played in the punk scene a long time, just like I did.
Sure.
You get a lot of bands that are like, yeah, we want everybody, unity, all this stuff, right? And then they're like, oh, where's your fucking mohawk, man? What the fuck's your problem? You know what I mean? But like when I listen to you and when I talk to you, and you just have a sincerity about you that a lot of other punks and bands just really seem to fail at. Is this something that you do intentionally, that you've thought through? Can you talk about that a little bit? And how important do you feel it is to actually do your best to live that lifestyle?
Right on. I think whenever you talk to someone who's been bullied or picked on, that doesn't get bullied and picked on anymore, I just think about how I would want to be treated if I liked somebody. If I wanted to be somebody's friend, how would I like to be treated? If I was a young punk kid at a show who might go there and not have any friends, or like is probably a weirdo, or probably fucking, why are they there all by themselves? Because they really like this music, or they feel like they've been outed in some way and they have no place to go. Maybe their parents don't have a lot of money. Maybe they're, I think about all those things whenever I think about creating art and I think about creating music. And I've always wanted to create a welcoming place for, like, people who never had a fair shake, people who might have been born into poverty or been born into addiction. Like, there's not a lot of places for kids like that to go, And I think if there's any place that we get to create an atmosphere where everybody's welcome, where everybody gets a place to be, where we don't put up with any bullying, where there's no sexism and there's no racism and there's no homophobia, and everybody gets to be treated as an equal and enjoy this thing called music and community together. I just think about, like, what it would have been like for me as a young kid to know that something like that was available to me. I just think about how I want to make that accessible for other people, because I think if they find a place to connect, where it's not, you're not just selling them a product of, like, of belonging, that there's actual belonging,
Right.
It's not the image, you're not purchasing an item to perpetuate an image of belonging. There's actually a place for you to go. And, like, I think if you can rally people around an idea of togetherness, they'll remember your songs, right? Hey, I didn't have any friends, and then I went to this guy's show, and then I had friends. What a wonderful memory to make. Not just that now I have friends, but, like, the memory and the feelings that you have that are so connected to the music, it's a part of your journey, and it's like a part of your roadmap or whatever. And I just think that it's important that, if you're, how long do we have on this earth? 80 years, maybe at the top of it, 70 if you were a smoker.
Yeah.
I think if you're, what are you going to do with this time that you have? And I just think that, if I'm going to give up my time to something, I just want it to be available for everybody. And I want people to know that, like, all the kids who are told that there's literally no place for you to go. There's this place called punk rock where the water is fine and everybody's allowed to participate. And, like, hopefully with the language that we as a band are able to create around that narrative, more people will feel welcome to join it and more people will find a place. And sure, maybe people don't like punk rock forever. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is only to make sure that they know that the door is open to them if they want to participate. And when they participate, here are the rules and here are the guidelines. This is what we believe in. And, like, mostly everybody's cool to, like, be down with that,
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really awesome.
I totally see why you wanted him on the podcast now. That is awesome. I feel very much that that's a thing that goes on a lot. Like, when we sat down to start this podcast, my idea was to reach out to the various overlapping communities that interact, peripherally within science fiction and fantasy, and especially the people who are creating that positive sense of community where everybody is welcome and doing these positive things. And in a lot of cases, honestly, you're right. It comes from the fact that these are the kids who were told, yeah, we don't want you here, right? Because I don't know, maybe being a nerd is cool now, but I am old enough to remember when it was not, right? And I am, I have been turned away from a lot of places myself, right? So when you find that, right, it's so magical to find, hey, shit, I'm not alone. There are other people like me in the world, and there are other people who care about the same things that I care about, and there are other people who are interested in the same things I'm interested in, and this is where they all overlap. And I think it's so beautiful that you're doing that in music. That is awesome. I've done enough stuff in music to know that the environment can be toxic in many places, right? So it's really cool to find a place where it isn't. Good for you. I am totally going to check out your stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah, I like to go in.
So, Derek, I know it's really tough to book tour dates right now, but what are you planning here in the future?
I mean, we're very fortunate that we have an amazing booking agent. So at the first dawn of ability for us to be out and for clubs to be open, we're gonna go ahead and book a tour, even if it's a last minute tour, just so that we can go ahead and get out there and play some shows and just get out there and do weekends. We have a tour planned for November that we're supposed to be on right this very minute. I think we're supposed to play in Winston-Salem, North Carolina tonight, I think. But here I am in Hazelwood, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But yeah, I don't know. As soon as we're allowed out, we're going to do it and go out there and play and be loud. And I think it's going to be great. I just don't know when that time is yet. We're kind of at the mercy of finding out when all this trouble is going to pass.
Yeah, absolutely. And your new record, you said, comes out on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone go buy his new record, and I highly suggest all of his records. But the one where I feel like Derek really starts tying everything together is his last one, Normal, which I was there for the CD release party for that one, and I just, things in my brain started clicking during that, That was just so great. Yeah, you're welcome.
If I was just going to say, if you were going to consume only one album, though, do the new one. It's applicable for, like, you in the middle of, quarantine, or if you're feeling worried about how the world is going to turn. This record is exactly about that. This land is your landfill. Yeah. So if I were to suggest one, I would say the new one. But that's just me because I've heard Normal a bajillion times and I'm tired of it.
Absolutely. And I've only heard 2 songs off the new one, so I have nothing to go on for that one.
You can go ahead on to Spotify. There's 4 songs up.
All right. You hear that, everybody? There are 4 songs out on Spotify. Go start listening to the most hope punk guy in the land. Homeless Gospel Choir here. So before we wrap up, there's a few things that we got to take care of. First of all, we forgot to ask Katje what her future plans were. So we need to rewind just a little bit, have her answer that, and then we have to talk about giveaway stuff.
Okay.
Future plans. Right. That's a thing people do. So just like in relation to my books or just in general?
Just projects.
Projects. Okay. Well, my plan for this year is to write a lot of novels and to get another poetry collection out. The subtitle for it is Poems from a Pandemic, but I'm not sure what the actual title of the poetry collection will be because that doesn't really come about until I've got the poems collected, usually. So, but I have been writing a lot of poetry about the pandemic. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just make a book this year. That sounds good. And then as far as my novels go, I would like to finish books 2 and 3 of the Borderlands saga and also finish book 3 of the Bellica trilogy. As well as writing some stuff under pen name, a couple pen names actually.
Prolific.
So hopefully gonna write like a whole bunch. I'm taking the quarantine as an excuse to write things.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's my plan. Yeah. Oh, also I wanted to say, for the duration of the pandemic, all my ebooks are pay what you want on Gumroad. So Gumroad is GUMROAD.com, and it can be reached through my website. But if people wanted to pick up my books for free, they can do that. So it's you can put in however much you want, but the basic price is free. So, and that's for Bellica, Glasstown, Jade Star of Atherin, Rewolfing the Soul, and Stranger Skies.
Awesome.
Cool. And your website is KatjeVanLoon.com, right?
Yes, KatjeVanLoon.com.
I will put that in the chat here so
Okay.
that people know what you do.
And Derek, what's your website? Is it just Homeless Gospel Choir?
Yeah, you can get it. It's on the World Wide Web, and we do have our website is open 24 hours. So as long as the internet is open, our website is open. We don't take off at nights or weekends. We work holidays. www.thehomelessgospelchoir.com. It's 24 hours. That website is available 24 hours, whether you're in Pittsburgh or in Japan.
Awesome, very awesome. All right, time for some giveaway information. Okay, so people out there, we have not been getting a lot of response to the giveaways, and I gotta be honest, I'm a little disappointed because these books are nice, people, and I would like to give more of them to all of you out there. Luckily, we did have one person respond last week to me personally. A fellow responded and would like us to send those Rosarium books to his father. They've been having a rough time the last couple years, so we will be sending those out. And the rules, so everybody remembers, are let us know if you know somebody who's having a tough time and like science fiction and fantasy. We will send them the giveaway of the week on my dime. So let us know. And we also now want to expand that. If you know somebody who not only is having a rough time, but may also be, like helping other people out, like doing good things around the neighborhood. If you have a neighbor that likes science fiction, fantasy stuff, and they're helping the little old lady at the end of the street get groceries, tell us about it. We'll send him books. It's that easy.
And look, guys, if you know a neighbor and you don't know their mailing address, right, that's fine. We'll send it to you. You give it to them. I don't care, right?
That's fine. So let us know. This week, the giveaways are a fourth issue of Dreamforge magazine and Meet Me in the Strange Land by Leander Watts, which is put together by Meerkat Press. And finally, we have The Widening Gyre by Michael R. Johnson. Very good book. If you like Star Wars, you'll definitely be into this one. Less space wizards, but lots of spaceships flying around shooting each other. Rachel, are you laughing at space wizards?
I am.
Well, what are Jedi if they're not space wizards?
That's true.
They're totally space wizards.
That's awesome. It's funny.
All right, so you can hit me up at Twitter if this goes on. You can hit us up at our email address, which is itgodon'tpanic@gmail.com, and that's ITGO, don't panic, @gmail.com. You can hit us up on Facebook, which if you look up If This Goes On, Don't Panic, we are also there. We are everywhere.
You can go to our WordPress site, itgodp.wordpress.com.
Yeah.
Or you can chat right now if you're listening to the live stream. We're, anywhere where we're at on the web, hit us up. Somebody's looking, we'll get your message.
Yeah, and then even if you know one of us personally, like if you know Diane or Rachel or myself, hit us up. Send us a personal email like, hey, so-and-so is having a rough time. I'd really think this would cheer them up. Do that. Please do not be afraid of us. We are not scary people.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Very anxious. I'm a very anxious person. I'm not a very scary person, okay?
I'm scary, but you have to work at getting me to the scary point. I can be scary. I won't lie. But I'm not scary to people who are doing nice things for other people. And if you're participating in this giveaway, you're doing something nice for somebody. So I love you. So you're safe.
Let's see. Only one other thing I want to announce. We are going to take next week off. All three of us have multiple projects going on, including classes that we're writing, other podcasts that we're on. Actually writing novels, some of us. what else? Kids and work and other fun stuff. So we're going to take next week off to kind of recoup and relax a little bit. And other than that, I guess we should probably talk about how you can support us, right? Is that next? Am I missing anything before we go on to that stuff?
Our release of our last episode.
Oh, God. Yeah, episode 3 of our regular format episodes, like our normal episodes, just came out, and that's with Landfill.We, who was an awesome dude. I should say is an awesome dude. He's not dead or anything. He's still around.
It's awful. It's awful. I'm going to tell him you said that.
He should be listening to this. Why is he needing listening to this?
Because he's actually really streaming right now, too.
I just finished listening to that episode actually this morning because I was not there for the interview. We don't all appear on every episode, right? Yeah. And it was really good. And he's a likable guy. I want to get to know him. He had some really good stuff to say, so I definitely recommend people check it out.
Yep.
Absolutely. So if you're feeling very generous, please check out our Patreon. That's at patreon.com if this goes on. patreon.com/if this goes on. Like we said last time, if you have money that you want to donate, please give that to people who are in more trouble than we are. But if you really feel like you want to support us, that's where we're at. We've got multiple tiers and stuff there. Including our Discord channel. I think we're going to start doing giveaways over there. What else do we have going on? You can sponsor other people to be part of our community over there. And I know there's probably like 5 things I'm missing right now. But if you can't afford to do that, also share us with your friends, just saying, hey, look, this podcast is awesome. You should check this out. That's a big deal for us, So please do that.
We're still growing, and so anything you do to spread the word is helpful. So thank you for that.
Yep. And I think that's it.
Yep.
So.
Where else do they find you online? We've got your addresses, guys. KatjeVanLoon.com, right? And HomelessGospelChoir.com. Are there other places you'd like to direct people where to find you guys on the net?
I'm on Facebook, and I post a lot on Instagram. So on Instagram, I am Amoeba Cat. So that's amoeba, as in the small amoebus blob, and then cat with a K, so K-A-T.
Right on. We seem to have lost Derek, though, unfortunately. He said he disappeared from the call here. Maybe the signal got dropped. But definitely go to his website and check him out there.
It's open 24 hours a day, no matter where you are. I think he would appreciate that plug. All right.
Yeah.
So, goodbye, everybody. Credits are coming up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
thanks, everybody. If This Goes On, Don't Panic is edited by moi, with production by Sound Maiden. Moi is Alan Bailey, by the way. Our theme music is by Father Flamethrower. Additional music by Christopher Snydrowski. And our outro is by Sable Aradia, or Aradia. Intro by Dave Robinson. And a special thanks to our guests again. Thanks, everyone, for supporting us, and we'll see you again soon.